I've made a minor mistake in that I should have showed this aircraft model before I'd really started getting into the paintwork, because it was the standard colours as it should be, and that was the plan. The second plan is to do other things with the surface, and I should have explained that and everything, but I've just started messing about with the shades of the colours, so different layers of different versions of the colours. If that's all making sense, it probably isn't. The point is, I've mentioned this before. I've looked at photographs, and there's a rather nice old film, which I'll show a clip of, or bits, or photographs, stills, or something, which are kind of grabbed off the telly for my own purposes, but I might as well share them. And well, seeing as this model is going so badly wrong, this is the model to experiment in achieving the sort of very hard used aircraft, if that makes sense. So not just weathering, but the fact that you'll see from this film, which is a kind of documentary really from the Second World War, you'll see that roundels and letters on the side and the markings and all of that are patched up with hand painted work, some of which is absolutely diabolical. And obviously I haven't got the nerve to do that with a model that's going well, because I'll just make it look like I can't paint it. But with a model that's not going well, I can afford to take that gamble. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's have a quick look at these bits from this film. Right, well, this is from the film called The Target for Tonight, which was made during the Second World War. It used real people in the R.A.F. and other units, and no actors. And it used real locations and real bits of kit. There are plenty of others like that, but this one is pertinent to the topic at hand, and I'll write that down in the description, but I can't find the film anywhere at the moment, so you might be able to, and it takes me ages to get these films done, so by the time it's done it could be everywhere, you never know. But it's called The Target for Tonight, and just look at this. The letter B is in pretty good nick, but look at all of our concentric circles. Initially it looks as if it's just that second band which is really scrubbed, but the white starts to look a bit red, a bit rough as well. So that one gives us an idea of just, how things were. This one's very similar, which is handy because we can do a comparison, but now we can see the letter, in this case A, is all over the show, and the white outer, yellow outer band is in a real mess as well. So it gives this excellent patchy quality. And just a quick view of some scraping around the body of the engine and a kind of cap. Anyway, what's interesting is it goes at an angle, but it curves with the curve of the structure itself. And then of course there's all the patchiness beyond, which you can see. I think very informative, because not all damage is caused by battle, and that's very handy to spot. I'm stating the obvious, saying not all damage is caused by battle, but this is what we're scrutinising. And then here a whacking great blob of a completely different shade of colour on the lower left, and again the outer band is a bit rough and the letter is a wee bit scruffy. So these things, bit by bit, these things are getting patched up as they go along. You always get a view up towards the cockpit, usually with a head poking out or an arm waving. Again, patchiness on the bodywork below the glassware, but look at the thick, heavy nature of the frame and the very scruffy quality of everything. So I think we'll have trouble doing that on the transparent plastic, but it just it gives this sort of lie to the concept that things are fairly what's the word, that there's a sort of homogeny to things. Each and every one of these has gone through extraordinary circumstances and very individualistic outcomes. Again, stating the obvious, but you know, this is the topic at hand. And finally, the culprit, the man responsible for it all, I'm sure, or at least one of many, doing an essential job there. So while all the guys are filling out with fuel, patching holes and rearming and so on, this fella's out there with a paint pot. It's just fantastic. Also, I don't know if it's very visible. I mean, the wavy lines always trouble me, because very often in diagrams or illustrations they're very routine and regular. In others they're not, I will admit, but that's there. But the real thing of interest is the almost holiday tent like nature of the windows along the side. Kind of stretched polythene quality. Absolutely fascinating. So that's them. Back to the model. I'll go on then, I'll drop in another film. This is from Appointment in London from 1953, so a fair time after the war, but it does include some pretty good footage of Lancaster bombers doing their thing, taking off and stuff like that, and a good few close-ups like this one. And this is just showing you the streakiness and the chips around one of the engines. And a good view of spatter and scratches on the engines there, or engine, singular. And again showing the same kind of thing. Very messy indeed. I'm not going to mimic these photographs, I'm just taking them as a prompt, but this gives you a good idea once again. And this one, a really rather nice angle of a Lancaster, just starting to move away. The light shining on the front end of the fuselage shows up all the little blemishes all the way through. A much neater cockpit canopy this time, but again look at all the little blemishes closer up, so it gives you a little bit more of an idea. I mean, this is great stuff for if you're going to do something on a larger scale, 1/48 or bigger. So I'm hanging on to these and just a little bit more, but basically this brings this section to a close. Apologies for not having more detail on these films. I'll buck that up I think at some point, but yeah, I will be hanging on to this stuff, and I'll see if I can get my hands on the films at some point on DVD. So thank you for your patience with this section. Back to the model. That means what I'm going to do is have different shades. It's going to be patchy. I am going to work in some brown into the black, and I'm going to hand paint over the markings, every last one of them, I think, because we'll get an idea of this laboured and stressed aircraft. So I suppose technically it does fall into the weathering category, but I would rather put it down as finish. I would rather say this is how this aircraft ended up, not just completion, but you know how things have gone and progressed. So patchy, weathered. I'm going to run some colours into it as a wash. I'm going to dry brush and generally try and get this to have some kind of meaning. Poor old thing. That was of course sarcasm come irony, because obviously some people are new to this channel and some people just dip in and out and they probably just get that bit and they think, oh, what is wrong with him? Well, they probably think that anyway, but well, we move on. Oh, there's the box. That's good. Markings are on, basically. There they are, and not very many, which makes a refreshing change in so many respects, and even then you get some spares. How marvellous is that? So, now it's probably time to have a look at, or to look into sort of deep weathering and getting this idea that everything's being sort of botched and touched up with each adventure that these aeroplanes have. So I'm going to have a go at that now. I'm going to have a go at that now. I'm going to use these 4 brushes. Come on, focus. I think it's time to get a new camera. Particularly these 2 flat chisel ended brushes, because that's, you know, when you are doing large scale painting like household painting, you tend to use a flat brush, and we'll just get an idea of, obviously the smallest one is about 12, what do you reckon, 9 times bigger than a 1/72 handheld brush would be, but you know, without spending an absolute fortune on the micro brushes, that'll see us through. It's mostly blue and red, isn't it? Not a lot of white. So we will, you know, butcher the markings, I reckon. And here we have stage 1. I quite like the blue, I don't like the red, and I've been patching up some of the black. We'll go get into yellow and white and rescue the red a little, but not a lot. It's just a tiny bit darker than I would like, so a little bit more, maybe an extra light shade of red. So as usual there's like 3 colours, but here we are, it's coming along, and broadly speaking it's alright, or it's what I had in mind, which means more to come, and I don't know, don't ask me what I'm talking about, goodness me. Anybody think I knew what I was doing? This is going to become a boring refrain on the remainder of this build, but I know this isn't going to be to everybody's tastes. All the same, I think it's coming out pretty much the way I want it. There will be some trimming up later on, but after I've done a lot of weathering, just before the final kind of layer of weathering. But it's getting there now. The red, by and large, is where I want it to be. It looks a bit, through the screen on the back of the camera, the red looks a bit vivid. It does not look like that in real life. We will see how that turns out. That might be the light bulb. Let's turn the lights off. No, it's still a bit vivid. Mrs. Meltdown likes watching, what's that program called? Strictly Come Dancing. So I'm often in the room when it's on, and of course I pay dramatically close attention to the marvellously designed dresses of the beautiful young ladies, and I can't help noticing that whenever anybody wears red, It absolutely blasts the broadcast and the TV screen. There is no detail to be had. There is no depth at all. And that seems to be what's going on here. And you might say, buy a new TV. Believe me, I've wandered round shops with TVs on and I can see it happening on a lot of them. Red is a very, very peculiar colour because it's so low down the spectrum. So, who knows? Perhaps by the time this actually gets onto YouTube and you're all looking at it, the red might have calmed down. This is actually Saturday, and the incredible cultural creation that is Strictly Come Dancing, the phenomena that beats anything of the Renaissance or the medieval period, will be on tonight. But I have a very, very different feeling. I think it's beyond nostalgia. It is, I think the word is hauntology. I have a hauntologistic sensation that I want to watch after the sports programme, after the, I can't remember what it was called, that weird kind of ticker tape thing bobbing up and down. Don't know if you had it in other parts of the world. But after that, I want to sit down and watch Doctor Who in black and white, or probably just in creaky colour, shaky colour again, with John Pertwee. And what I'd really like to watch later on in the evening, when it gets a bit more to adult time, adult o'clock, is Quatermass and the Pit, the black and white TV series. I'll put up with the colour film, but the black and white TV series was so atmospheric. That's the mood I'm in. I mean, there might be a reason for that. Look at this. Those dreary, rainy, dull, late autumn afternoons. I might, who knows, maybe I should just have a giant snooze and dream about that kind of world. Hauntology, people, that's the future.